My name is Daniel Yamas. I took my 100 meter from a 13.9 to an 11.82. And when I was stuck in the 12.6 range, I changed up my programming massively. I created an entire course around the physiology, the science of athletic performance, and I put it to the test with 2 months of training and periodization. I'm going to walk you through all of that in this video, an overview, and then a little bit more in detail explanation, as well as the biggest needle movers for uh, for the results that I was after, and my rationale as to why these are the biggest needle movers. So let's get started. All right, so first off, let's see the actual video of myself running the 11.8. So I measured this the same way I measure every single one of my sprints. It's from the first movement to the point that I cross the line. So not there, but just like right in between those two clips. And what do you know? We got 11.82. Now, this is unofficial, I know, but it's the same way I measure every single one of my sprints. So I know it's not official, but it's the same way every single time. And that is what's important when you're taking measurements. So even though it's not 100% accurate, almost not no hand watch, nothing you're going to do is accurate. So you understand, you take it with a grain of salt. So looking at the metrics again, we went from the 12.5 to the 11.82 within 4 days. That was because I was deloading. So in the program, it's very important that you understand the supercompensation model, right? So you go into that little bit of fatigue, and you progress, and you get worse and worse and worse. Or maybe you stay sort of the same, but you have this underlying bar of fatigue, and once you remove it, then you perform. So I saw this happen. And the first time I tried doing this, it was really hard. This is one of those things that's like an art form that you have to experience in order to master. Because you can read about it, but then until you see it happen, it just doesn't make sense. And sprinting is one of those things where you can do it over and over and over again, and it's just like, why am I not getting faster? And it's hard to repeat the effort too, because it's so taxing on the central nervous system. So I progressed in my power phase with more weights on the sleeves that I was using. The number one factor, go ahead and hit that like button right now, because I'm going to give you the sauce. The number one factor for me getting faster was the weighted sleeves. Number one by far. I'll even put them on and I'll take them off and I'll instantly run faster after. It'll correct my form. It'll increase rate of force development at max velocity. There's something about them. But Ken Clark taught us this already. So he taught us that, and this is one of the things I talk about, is that they have better athletes who sprint faster typically have faster thigh angular velocity. So what do the knee sleeves do? The shin sleeves, they basically increase the resistance. So when you take them off, or when you get that adaptation, you now have faster thigh and knee angular velocity. So mass 1 here that you see in this photo moves faster, puts more force into the ground, and propels you forward faster. Okay? That is the biggest thing. The second biggest thing was improving my squat, but more so making adaptations to the tissue and growing so that I could handle more load. So not looking at it from a perspective of like trying to increase my squat, but more so making adaptations to the tissue and managing load appropriately so that I could perform my task better. Because these other auxiliary exercises that we do are means to an end. That doesn't mean I don't want to see them improve. It just means I am focused on adaptations to the tissue primarily, and and these things will lead to an improvement in the main thing. So, if I improve my squat by doing something like an isometric mid-thigh pull or like a unilateral eccentric overload beforehand to recruit all high threshold motor units, that is going to improve my squat, and then that is going to improve my force producing capabilities. Also, if I do the isometric mid-thigh pull right, rate of force development. If I do that well, then I can sprint faster, then I can perform better. And I've seen the results at the MMA gym of sprinting faster. I definitely am a lot more explosive than a lot of the other athletes, 100%. So what I am now focused on is these KPIs here at the gym, improving my VO2 max through my 1.5 mile run, my single leg triple bound. So doing that, there's a few other things that I'll do, but these are the KPIs I'm measuring. These are the main needle movers, right? So my 40-yard dash, my 60-meter sprint, my single leg triple bound, these are the things I'm measuring, trying to improve. I'm trying to improve my squat. I'm trying to improve my bench press. I'm trying to improve my fighter's row. Excuse me. But what am I going to do to improve these? Am I going to just do those? No. But these are the KPIs that make up the KPI. So like the main KPI is skill, obviously. And I break that down in more detail in this lesson, which is on YouTube as well. I posted these to YouTube. There's just more detailed explanations in here. But basically, skill is power times precision. And I explain that. But basically, I'm improving a lot of these KPIs that are most likely to transfer over, right? So these are the biggest things that I'm still working on. And the needle movers were the weighted sleeves for sprinting faster, right? The weighted sleeves, heavy weight training with proper recovery, enough protein, volume accumulation, load management. So that means deloading when appropriate, scaling back when appropriate, which is, again, an art. It's not something you can just read about. It's something that like Terrence Crawford talks about. He's like, I just listen to my body. You know inside yourself when you should skip training and you're not being a bitch. You know when you can scale back and when you should push harder. You know inside. Don't look around and ask somebody for help. You should know inside when you can push, when you should regress. But load management is at the top of that. Improving my sprint speed came down to plyometrics, improving force output through adaptations to the tissue, neurological adaptations, which again, I'm doing isometric mid-thigh pulls, and then the 1.5 mile run is one of the things I added in. Oh my gosh, this is one of the things that like I wish I would have done way sooner because it improves HRV, which has a world of benefits. But anyways, this video is getting a little too long. I think you guys got the gist of it. A lot of the exercises that I'm doing are not to the T of how I would program for others, because I did this 2-month program. Now I'm just taking the best pieces out of it. I wanted to finish it, but would I advise somebody to go through a 2-month program again? Probably not, unless they are youth athletes and they really, really need to develop certain characteristics, go really deep into certain adaptations. But other than that, general physical qualities that you can improve all around and progress and keep a variety of is going to be the best way to get better, by just continuously focusing on KPIs that you can improve on. Again, because if you don't focus on something for a while, it can kind of go. So like sprinting, if you don't sprint for a while, you lose it. So if I were to go back in time, I would just keep sprinting. I would keep improving these KPIs. And I can't get into the itty bitty details of how exactly to improve all these KPIs in this video because I don't want to make it too long. But basically, you're shooting for these specific KPIs that are most highly transferable to any sport. Okay? And the way you train for them, maybe if you guys drop some comments down below, hit like, you guys like this video, I'll talk more about what my training currently looks like.